All right, so in this patient, they haven't received any medications yet. They've got a significant benzalkonium chloride allergy, and I've only given them, until this point, Vigamox and the betadine prep. This cannula is the first intracameral agent being used, and it's MPF-Lidocaine only. And I had heard through talking with people at like Ascaris and such that lidocaine was supposed to dilate the eye, but seeing is believing, and so I was rather fascinated to see how it worked quite well. In this part of the video, I'm just watching in real time so that you can sort of see also that, yeah, lidocaine by itself works. At the end of this video, I will talk a little bit more about why this works and go from there. Here in a few more seconds, we're going to go ahead and put in viscoelastic to achieve a bit more dilation and proceed with the case. So there's the viscoelastic. And then here in a higher speed mode, I'm going to go through the regular steps of the case. Here's the capsulorhexis. Next, we've got hydrodissection, which is a stage where typically you can see some iris tendencies toward the wound, but obviously the pupil's staying very well dilated, and this is just BSS with no epinephrine being used at this stage during the phaco and all, which I won't really show. We do have epinephrine in the bottle. After that's done, and we're about to do INA, you can still see the pupil is doing well. It's a little bit more reduced in diameter, but for the most part, it's still quite dilated. Certainly have excellent visualization. And then after that, we'll go ahead and slip in my lens, which I won't show you. And there's the end of the case. We put in a stitch because of my concern that she might be also Vigamox allergic, which she didn't prove to be, but 21 minutes in and still great dilation. In summary, what I did to prevent infection was my standard betadine prep, including some in the fornix, as well as preoperative Vigamox and intracameral Vigamox. I placed a suture because she began itching at the beginning of the case when I was using Vigamox, and I wanted to make sure that if I was not able to continue using Vigamox, I at least had the eye as secure as possible. Then I gave subconjunctival solumedrol as the steroid since it didn't have preservatives, and then I used preservative-free ketorolac, also known as Acuvale here. I don't have any financial connection to Allergan or Alcon for the Vigamox and Acuvale I mentioned. It's just what I used. Usually we use intracameral lidocaine to block the sodium-potassium channels so that pain control is affected. Turns out that lidocaine has a secondary effect on the parasympathetic system. Generally, the parasympathetic effect, which is to make the pupils small, is mediated through acetylcholine's interaction with the M3 receptor in the iris. The lidocaine works both inside the cell and outside the cell on that M3 receptor, as well as on its coupled G protein, to act as a parasympathetolytic agent, so the pupil will actually dilate. Next, I want to review some of the studies for this is not a unique thing, and lidocaine and other agents have been used right along to provide dilation. One of the first studies I found was by Lundberg et al. In about 2003, and in that article, they used sort of a potpourri of agents intracamerally. It included cyclophenolate and phenylephrine, xylocaine. All of those were used intracamerally, and it did provide, as they say, a rapid, effective, and safe alternative to topical mydriatics. In this next study from 2007, pretty much the same thing we did was done here, at least as regards the initial dilation. We had epinephrine in our BSS infusion, whereas they didn't. Interestingly, they had better dilation out of the intracameral group than they did with the topical group, though they only used cyclophenolate and phenylephrine, I think, as dilating agents. In the next study by Golan et al., using the same name as that which was done in 2007, the researchers also used intracameral lidocaine. They compared it to topical phenylephrine 10% and 1% cyclopentolate. And while the topical drops provided better dilation than the intracameral was clearly felt to be sufficient to achieve the case without any undue difficulty. In this final article, the author dilated patients 3 days before surgery with 0.8% tropicamide and 5% phenylephrine, and then measured how much dilation effect there was. Then during the surgery, he used 1% lignocaine, which is the same as lidocaine, and then compared the amount of dilation that was achieved with both of those modalities. He found that the lidocaine or lignocaine was just as effective as the topicals, and certainly was enough to achieve the surgery without difficulty. So hopefully that has pointed out how intracameral lidocaine works. The video hopefully showed you that it does work, and then I presented these studies at the end to demonstrate that other folks have been doing this rather successfully for some time now. So anyway, I hope that the video has been good for you, and I wish you well in your surgical endeavors.